Welcome to Thomas's Comparison Driving Lounge. GLC versus X3, starting with the Mercedes GLC new generation, GLC 300 4MATIC, German Autobahn acceleration onto the motorway. We'll let these two cars pass. You shall pass. And then from 45 kilometers an hour, sports mode. Let's go. 130, 150, slowly approaching 200. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. And almost plop, 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. That's enough here for now. Wind noise is actually quite okay considering this high speed, and here also with the air suspension in sports mode, it's giving me more feedback, and wow, it's surprising how upright this car is staying. So it more feels like a sedan to drive indeed. Yes, of course, put up, but really stable indeed. And that shows also this air suspension is indeed not set on a very soft note. It's rather set on a stiff note. It's still comfortable, yes, but especially in the sport mode, it rather should enable you sporty driving indeed. For more comfort, we go back here to the comfort mode in the drive select. You do not have to hit it on the screen. You can also scroll through left and right. So that's at least possible. Responsiveness could be a little bit better. Here in the comfort mode now, comfort is definitely fine as for suspension. But again, I talked about this sometimes when I'm driving Mercedes. I love it when they have air suspension and having this very soft floaty ride. Maybe that's too soft for some others, I don't know, but for me I think it's great when having air suspension, but here rather on a stiffer note without losing comfort or something. Here now in the tunnel, look at that ambient lighting. I mean, this is like night riding here now. Here, there, 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 there. Is it too much for you or do you love it? Just tell me in the comments. So I really find it very, very cool. I really like the steering input. So it's quite precise and direct. Mercedes steering inputs used to be, yes, natural, but in a way kind of slow. So you had to turn a lot until something would happen. Here they have made it a little bit more, more reaction to low degree angle, and this progressiveness I really like. So in this case then, a big difference to the previous generation. Indeed, this new generation GLC, if you compare it to the previous generation, feels definitely sportier to drive. And then of course you have that rear axle steering, which is just massive. This is also then when we start comparing to the BMW X3, the rear axle steering 4.5 degrees in the opposite direction. This is a major advantage indeed when you think about U-turns, and also, but just when I do like this, let's take a look at that. So this guy's wondering what the hell is this guy doing there? But here it almost feels like I would be turning on standstill, So sometimes you think like U-turns, you would say like, I can't do it with such a big SUV. Yeah, here it is actually possible. This rear axle steering is just awesome, and that BMW doesn't offer it for the X3. Might be something coming up in an all-new generation at some point or so. So rear axle steering really good. Suspension also doing a good job. There's an X5. We can head out to the motorway once more and do some more high-speed driving and see how the lane changes are at higher speeds. Sports mode one time when we're at 90 kilometers an hour. Let's go. Very nice sound, right? 130, 150. And 180. Yeah, so time around here. Wow. Cars being kept in the lane very nicely. Of course, not because of the assistances. I mean, like, suspension is doing a good job, not shaking up the vehicle. Now at high speed lane changing, feels real. Oh no, it wanted speed limit for winter tires. At 210, so that's the speed limit they set them to winter tires. It feels so calm and collected driving high-speed motorway. Here, when we have some waves, actually, then the air suspension becomes apparent. Then we know we are doing an air suspension. But wow, I mean, how well this vehicle is handling on high speed for an SUV without being like Porsche Macan or something, you know. So definitely confirms the thing, switched from previous to this generation, that it's way sportier than before. And so far it was really the thing when we were looking at GLC versus X3. We could always say, yeah, you know, the X3 is the sportier one, whereas the GLC is the more luxurious one. And since they made this generation sportier in the drive, that doesn't count that much anymore, you know. Also remember here, it is basically still a it is basically still a rear-wheel driven platform, so you can get this one here, for example, in the US also as rear-wheel drive, but in the EU this one will then be all-wheel drive. In most cases, it. The hell? Yeah, this sound emulation is also telling like, hey, we're sporty now, you know. Very interesting. So, yeah. Indeed, it is more fun to drive. So again, with suspension, steering, rear axle steering and so on, this generation is indeed more fun to drive now. That's definitely a cool thing. And if they want to make it up to BMW, you know, so try to even out that gap, indeed as for the sportiness, they did that. So, and yeah, technology-wise, it's pretty amazing with the rear axle steering. So these are a lot of advantages that Mercedes has gained now. It also offers that air suspension. Then again, the price is higher, so it's always pro and con. Definitely, yes. So the GLC, from the driving part here, already gathered a lot of pro arguments against the BMW X3. So this might be a very, very close race. Is there anything yet what we could say on the negative side? Well, told you on the interior. When driving here, it's not that I would get any back pain or something, you know, so it is comfortable enough. But I still have the feeling also, I've been driving yesterday like 600 kilometers in one day. Didn't, again, have any back pain or something. But I feel like these seats are a little bit too stiff, especially with the animal skin material. The article leatherette will be a little bit softer, and you more feel like you cannot go into the seat being held tight, you know, so you're more sitting on the seat, like almost like blown off the seat. Just, you know, accelerating now a little bit. So I'm not exactly sure if they thought about really tall people for these seats. If you're a little bit smaller, and it's no problem probably, but I think that the long-term seat ergonomics at this moment, at Mercedes in general, is not top of the game, and that especially like, you know, Lexus, Volvo, Audi is doing that better. BMW, sometimes yes, sometimes not. Depends on the car model. What about the X3? And now the BMW X3 in that comparison. Well, first of all, steering-wise, this is very interesting. So it used to be the other way around. But now the Mercedes GLC actually has a more direct steering. That's very interesting, isn't it? Might have also something to do with the rear axle steering option, but not only. Because here also, indeed, I have to steer more in the BMW. So that's a very interesting thing, right? Isn't it? So it's also good as for the steering feeling, and I also prefer it if you compare it to the BMW 3 Series, which feels to me a little bit less natural in a way. But here, I think, yeah, it's totally fine, but surprising that the Mercedes GLC has the more direct and actually sportier steering feel. The adaptive suspension is also very good. However, due to that air suspension in the GLC, it is not less sporty, but at the same time it is more comfortable. So also a very good ride here with the X3, no doubt about that. But you feel a little bit more what's happening on the road, whereas that air suspension in the Mercedes is evening the things out. Of course, that's also the thing about going for the options. So one of the key findings already we can say here, that when you have like a low spec GLC versus low spec X3, there won't be such a difference, or maybe also a little bit favored towards the X3. But when you go high spec versus high spec and also get all of these optional technology features that the GLC has, like rear axle steering plus the air suspension, then the GLC plays out these technology advantages in that new generation, and then it actually is a better ride than in the X3. So very interesting finding here already right now. Here going some left and right. I mean, the funny thing is here in that very small degree, you see here, it doesn't do too much. But then when you go some left and right in this degree, then the X3 gives you a little bit more feeling for the vehicle. And although the GLC is sporty now, indeed, the thing is still that the BMW more feels connected. It's more like this. Here, I always know I am driving the vehicle and rather feel one with the vehicle. The GLC more has this, oh, this is like high-tech stuff, and this is really amazing and impressive, but it's rather like I am driven by this high-tech vehicle. You know what I mean? And that is, you can't really say like that's good and that's bad. That's more about also personal preference. Both have something. The GLC kind of transports more fascination while driving, whereas here the X3 more transport this more purist car enthusiast feeling. So, and once again, both have something unique. This is really about what is important to you. What is important to me? Maybe I know more about this decision here. I'm driving at high speed on the German Autobahn. Sport mode and S shifting mode from 50 kilometers an hour. Let's go. $150. $190. Okay, now it's also slowing up. And 200 kilometers an hour. Start a little bit earlier the acceleration. Here also lane changes at high speeds. Very well done, really stable. Also not too much wind noises considering the high speed, definitely. So also very well done. It feels also calm and collected, definitely. And the adaptive suspension here at higher speeds is more comparable than with lower speeds. That's very interesting. Here also, once again, lane change at high speed. Very good feeling for the vehicle. As for, noises and so on, maybe it was even slightly better for the Mercedes. But really interesting is that suspension-wise, when you're really at high speeds, both are more comparable. When you're here at like mid speeds and low speeds, then that air suspension of the Mercedes is playing out its advantages. So there you definitely have more comfort. So the air suspension just more adaptive, more versatile in a way there. And here in the tunnel, there is some ambient lighting inside of the doors and also here towards the side area. Looking also quite cool, also in the lower middle console here. But definitely that ambient lighting of the Mercedes is no match for that here when you're driving tunnel. For some it's too much, some rather prefer it subtle, but yeah, some find it also cool. I wasn't really quite sure what to expect when comparing these two vehicles. Indeed, both have definitely their unique strength. And I was kind of surprised how sporty the GLC is now. But here, yeah, the X3, it doesn't have this high-tech sophistication focus, but it still has this engaging drive. Really hard to say which one I prefer powertrain-wise. The Mercedes seems to be a little bit more efficient. So here, more than 9 liters, more towards 10 liters or more kilometers. So that's rather than, towards 20-something plus mpg, barely 30 mpg UK. So a little bit more better advantage as for the fuel economy for the Mercedes. One more time, 90 kilometers an hour to whatever, let's see. $150. 170. Feels really nice. It's amazing indeed. I mean, the X3 feels quicker, although on paper the acceleration figures are better for the Mercedes. That's very interesting, isn't it? Strange indeed, right? So, but that's also the thing, you know. So it feels quicker and it feels still sportier to drive, just a little bit more engaging in the handling, whereas the Mercedes has this, you know, technology shine stuff. At higher speeds here and there, some rattling stuff, I have to say. That wasn't the case with the GLC, so here also small advantage for the GLC. But from the driving itself, again, both great really. Here maybe a little bit more fun focus, where we have more tech focus with the GLC. Let's sum that up, and it's gonna be tough. Which one would I take home and which one would I recommend for you today? It's going to be a tough one. Well, the thing is, from the exterior styling, I really like both from the front. The Mercedes has some cool features like the microstar pattern, but the BMW also looks very strong in the front. I really like both in the front. I think the design is overall good. But then again, towards side and the rear, I think I rather prefer the X3 for more angular styling. This is the automatic closing function, by the way, that the side mirrors also for in the car close itself when I go away from it. So here more round central styling for the Mercedes, and it carries over to the interior. And there, styling wise and also ambient lighting wise, that's what I find very lovely with the GLC, whereas the X3 is more drawn back, more conservative. So this interior of the GLC gives you more experience and more showing off effect indeed. But then again, the X3 has manual climate dials, for example. It also is more simple in a way, you know, and both have something, you know. You can experience more with the GLC, but you can easier use the X3 and both. Yeah, it's really tough indeed. As for the space on the interior, they are not best, you know, they're overall, their smaller brothers, for example, would have a better packaging overall ratio. In the trunk, also comparable. I would rather say it's more rectangular with the X3. Rear legroom also quite comparable. And driving-wise, well, so far in the previous generation, I would have said, yeah, okay, the sporty experience, X3, luxurious experience, less sporty, GLC. Now the thing is that when you have this air suspension and maybe also set on the sport mode and so on, and they're sportier also from the steering and so on, so the GLC has evened this gap. It's not that this one would not be sporty anymore. So that's a major finding also from this review, from this comparison review. Technology-wise, the Mercedes leads it indeed because of that rear axle steering that makes it so much better to use parking in and out. That would be a crucial factor actually, but it's also a very cost-intensive option. And of course, when you go for a plug-in hybrid, this one will have a big pure electric range, 100 kilometers or 60 miles and so on. From the, like, how engaging it is to drive, I would say the X3 still has like a notch more when you sit down, and it's still a little bit like the X3 is like, drive me. And the GLC is a little bit more, come on, be driven. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I think the thing is, do you prefer the styling on one of these, both exterior and interior? And how important is it for you to be a little bit more engaging in the drive? Or are you more focused on the technology side where the GLC just offers more? So sometimes in these comparison reviews I struggle. Sometimes I say, okay, this is the clear winner or this is the clear winner. But today it's super, super tough. I wouldn't say that there is a super clear winner on either on this one here today. It's real thing is more technology focus and more like showing off, or more a little bit more conservative, more little bit more engaging to drive. That is their crucial choice for today. And also, depending on the market, the GLC in most cases will be a couple of €1,000 more expensive, especially when you go for these technology features. So I would then also look at the pricing. So I can't decide right now which one I would take home. I think I would take maybe weeks really to decide, and then also look at the pricing. Here again, the Mercedes will be more expensive if you take these technology features. Let's take it that way. When you compare high spec versus high spec, I think the technology features for the Mercedes GLC shine. But when you go low spec versus low spec, then the difference is not that large from the technology thing, and then the X3 would have the advantage. So yeah, that's my verdict for today. Which one would you take home? Tell me in the comments, and also tune into more comparison episodes.